Hi, everyone, and welcome to Fox 9 Sports Now. I'm Jim Rich, Vikings analyst Pete Bercich, here to give us no bull tonight.
So was that in Mankato? Is that where that happened?
No, I think that was Oregon.
Oh, okay.
It was Oregon.
Right.
It was pretty impressive watching that.
They're athletes. They're athletes.
Get them over the line.
Speaking of that, I saw there was a Gatorade camp at the facility today, and Jim Kleinsasser's son, he's a Mound Westonka high school player, great kid.
Okay.
But his dad was as close to a feral bull as I've ever met. Size 16 shoe or 17 shoe, and Jimmy was a freak. He was an absolute physical freak, and when I saw that bull jump into the stands, I'm thinking, hey, it's a Kleinsasser bit, you know?
No doubt.
The good old days.
Yes,
the good old
those
days.
were the good days.
Yeah.
Hopefully more good days are ahead for the Vikings because the future of the franchise has been laid out. The moves that have been made since the end of the season till now show a clear path, one that hopefully leads to the postseason. And Vikings general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has a roadmap of how to get this team there. I mean, he's done a lot of things since the end of the year. He decided Cousins wasn't going to be his quarterback. He's got the team back under the cap. He's made this his team. I think now that we're 3 years into this, you could say that this is Kwesi's team. So how do you feel he has navigated these choppy waters?
He's done. I mean, he's answered the big questions when he took charge were, you know, what are you going to do with the quarterback position? You know, what about Kirk Cousins? How is this going to work? Extending JJ was the other big one. So I think he's taken care of, obviously, those things. The Atlanta Falcons absolutely helped this franchise and Kwesi make a decision on the quarterback when the money that was offered to him was I think ludicrous in some ways for a 36-year-old man with a torn Achilles. You just can't match that. I don't think anybody would have tolerated that. So that helps a little bit. You know, free agency wise, I think we've done over the last couple of years a very, very good job. In most ways, not necessarily building, but replacing a lot of talent that we're losing. Right. So that part of it, I think, has gone well. The draft has been probably the biggest question mark. But when it comes to the draft, it's all about the quarterback, and we know that J.J. McCarthy will be the future of the franchise. So when the decision was made, we all have to remember where we were mentally on the night of the draft. And no one had a problem with him picking J.J. McCarthy at that moment. Now, how J.J. matures is more due to Coach Kevin O'Connell and mostly on J.J. himself. And so how he ends up, you have to. That's not really as much on the GM, so to speak. Re-signing Justin Jefferson, that's obviously been great. He's a very unique player in so many different ways, and I think the other part of it too is that Kwesi is a GM in the NFL at a very, very good time, meaning the salary cap is expanding.
Right.
Right.
What,
the salary cap.
$30 million?
The salary cap is going up and up and up. So you're not in a situation where you're getting yourself in trouble, right? And you got to get rid of some old contracts. You kind of let some of the ones just play out, and you have a lot of flexibility, and the Vikings have nothing but flexibility. We don't have a ton of draft picks coming up in the next couple of years, but at the same time, we're going to have a lot of free agency cash, and you can, however you do it. If you're going to build with the draft, which is usually the cheapest way, or you can bring in a lot of 27-something or 28-year-old, 26-year-old, 27-year-old free agents. You can build that way as well. So we'll see.
All right, but I think he had this year penciled in when he first got hired. Well, I think he saw this year of quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
Well, I thought this was an astute observation on my part, but you're chuckling,
no.
So you're thinking I did not.
Off the top of my head, you're thinking, yeah, the third year of a GM it's kind of make it or break it, right? And so, they're in that respect, having a quarterback in waiting may get them another, may guarantee you another year or two, despite how everything goes. I'm trying to remember if the foresight was there to know when he first started here that this was going to be such a quarterback. It's the COVID thing.
Right. Exactly.
Right? The COVID
That's
thing
why
is
there was so many quarterbacks that had all that experience, that had the extra year of eligibility. So you had such a great crop that you had so much tape on these guys to figure out which one you wanted to grab and try to make the most intelligent decision.
Yeah, and I think, you know, how Dallas Turner ends up being as a player, he's going to be good no matter what. He'll be, you know, but he has the physical ability to be one of the best that ever played the game.
Right.
It's just a matter of, does he develop?
But you think he had this earmark? I think he looked at this and he wasn't going to bring back Kirk no matter what. Even though they were saying all the right things, with this draft, they were going to take a quarterback.
Yes, I agree with you on that.
And go there.
Regardless of whether or not they had Cousins, I think they had, this is an opportunity to go ahead and not have to trade, you know, trade the farm to get up there, to get in the top 3, top 5 spots, to get more, because usually there's 3 good quarterbacks, let's say, on average, and this year there were 6.
Right.
That went in top, 15, I believe. So, but to turn around then and then make a move that wasn't too ridiculous to bring in a Dallas Turner, who at the, you know, was still where we got him, he was still the number one on some boards, the top defensive player in the draft. So you get the quarterback, you know, maybe not the guy that you wanted, but definitely a guy that you wanted. And then you turn around and you get, you know, you turn around and get one of the best defenders. And so the development and what Dallas Turner turns into as a player and as a Viking, I think that's more of kind of a signature that Kwesi can put on this team, because it wasn't a draft night deal. They made a trade earlier to get 2 first-round draft picks to kind of build up to it, to get him the flexibility. And then, you know, I had one former GM tell me, he said that, you know, you don't dictate the draft dictates to you. Right, so that's and that's important in that you don't go into that night saying we're going to do this, 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 and this. And as that night goes on, and how this year went, because nobody, even the draft gurus were saying 6 quarterbacks in the first round, 6 in the top half of the first round, right?
Changed the whole landscape.
Right, so. Who could have predicted that? And even if they did, that might be a flyer. It's like no one went into that night saying, 6 of the top 15 are going to be quarterbacks, and we have a quarterback we don't have to worry about. No one did that. So the draft dictates to you, and you have to react to it. And I think that move, bringing in Dallas Turner, is huge. And, you know, I think Dallas Turner, in a lot of ways, as much as J.J. McCarthy is tied in to Kwesi, I think Dallas Turner is as well. I mean, Dallas becomes a all-pro type defender. That's a move that Kwesi made that was very surprising.
All right, the biggest move, one that'll affect everything for years to come, is biting the bullet and giving Justin Jefferson the biggest deal in NFL history for a non-quarterback. Was this the right price? Did the Vikings end up overpaying to get this deal done, in your mind? Because the dance went on for a year between these two sides.
Did they overpay? You know, no one balked when he said, I want to be the highest paid wide receiver in the league, right? He arguably can deserve it. What that number is, that's not based on him. That's based on other contracts.
Right, with all the other deals.
So some of the wide receiver position is obviously attracting a lot more money than it ever has. You know, you're looking at a guy who might catch the ball 10 or 12 times a game, as compared to a running back or quarterbacks who get the ball all the time. For JJ, though, I mean, outside of the 7 games he missed with a hamstring, his career thus far has been as flawless as you can get. I mean, he's a great kid, works very hard. When he's out there, he's always productive, hard worker. And, you know, when you first get into the league as a player, you just want to get out there and contribute and do those things. And he did that his rookie year. He obviously came out and did well. And then you want to keep building on that. And as you mature as a player, you move from, I want to make it and be the man, to what's my legacy going to be? And we heard in the open just a little bit of what JJ was saying. He's like, I'm going to be on my teammates. I'm going to be, you know. I hope that he's done that, where he's saying the legacy of Justin Jefferson, will it be will it be like Dan Marino, right? Great quarterback, never won a Super Bowl, right? JJ, then you're like, okay, well, Justin Jefferson, great receiver, never really won a Super Bowl. So is that in the back of his head, and is he going to be single-minded in that? Because again, it's fun to watch a young player mature and go from, I want to have another great year. I want to get to 2,000. Remember, was it last year or the year before? I'm getting to 2,000. He's not talking about 2,000 anymore.
Right.
He's talking about what what he wants to do with the team, and I think that's a sign of his maturity.
Well, that's exactly. You have led me right to this soundbite. Unbeknownst to you, I have this queued up. Jefferson is now the face of the franchise, and he's the target. Obviously, everyone wants to stop, even more so than before. As you said, it was about individual things. Now it's teams things. And his new role, here's how Justin says he'll approach his teammates moving forward.
This is the start of a lot. This is something that I've been waiting for, and now being the leader of this team and, carrying myself a different way. Just like I told him, I'm going to be on everyone, but I'm going to be on, everyone hard, and I'm going to make sure that I'm the leader of this team, and, we're working to where we want to go, which is a world championship. So I'm excited. I'm excited for my family, excited for my friends, excited for all of the people that supported me.
All right, so he says he's taking a bigger leadership role. One, is he ready to step up like this?
Yeah.
And two, will his teammates listen? Right? Because as you said, he's a guy that's only going to catch the ball 10 times. He's not blocking. Right. He's not sacking the opposing quarterback.
Right.
Can a wide receiver be really a true leader of a team like a quarterback can?
I think they can be as impactful. The role obviously is a little bit different. I played with some guys that were, I think instead of necessarily the overall production, it's just being clutch. And we've seen JJ be unbelievably clutch, yes. Right? But when you need to make that first down, this is one of the things, again, about JJ McCarthy that you loved. Michigan ran the ball. He didn't throw much, but 3rd and 10, they're like, all right, we got to throw it. And he would somehow get it done. And so if JJ can continue to be clutch, then, that's part of it. I think leadership in the locker room takes a lot of different forms. And you have leaders in special teams room. You have leaders in all different areas in each meeting room. But JJ now, it's interesting to hear him talk about, I've gotten paid. So right. Obviously the folks upstairs, the coaches, the GMs, they picked me. This money represents more than just the dollar amount. It's I am the guy. I am the leader. So if that's what gets him over the hump in that respect, to be more vocal, right? Maybe when he was still on his rookie contract, he's like, "Oh, I'm still on a rookie contract. I'm here trying to make the team better. I'm going to contribute. I'm going to, fight like crazy. But now that I am the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, obviously these guys have faith in me, so I am going to step up and fulfill that role."
Do you see that in his DNA? I mean, how you've seen him carry himself.
The fact that this young man has been here, he's not only the face of the Vikings, he's one of the biggest faces in the NFL.
Absolutely.
And he's managed to keep himself out of trouble. I had the pleasure of meeting his parents in Cincinnati. Because I didn't fly with the team, so we were checking in, and I met his dad, and I asked him what he did, and he goes, "Well, my job is to keep my son's head on straight." And I'm like, okay, and that's all part of it now. So my point is, he comes from a good family. I love that he was not a 5-star recruit that went to LSU. He got into LSU because his brother was there. So when he showed up on LSU's campus, he had he's like, I got to prove it to everybody how good, that I belong here. I'm not just so-and-so's brother, I belong here. And he did that, okay? And so if you look closely enough, you see evidence of who he can be all around him. I don't see anything, I haven't heard anything from him that would make me think that he can't do it, or that he won't do it, or doesn't want to do it. So if you're the Will family and you're Quessy, if I had to pick a guy on the team, we got to give somebody a lot of money. Which guy are you going to give it to? I think JJ is one of those guys that you not hesitate to say we're not worried about this ruining a guy, because it can happen, right? Guys get paid and they go nutty, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, right? All of a sudden, this guy's got a bunch of friends you never knew he had. But Justin, since day one, has been a household name almost, right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, I don't have any worries in that respect. And when you listen to him talk, I can believe what he has to say, and I believe it's sincere because of the evidence and the things that we've seen around him, everywhere else. He's not taking games off. He's not.
No.
He's not complaining. His body of work leads me to believe the fact that yes, he can and will lead this team. Whether or not, like you said, from the wide receiver position, that'll be a little different. He's not quarterback, right? But the money's in good hands. You don't. It's not going to keep you up at night, right? You figure if you're questioning adofo-mensah, you just gave this guy all his money. Sometimes, now, like for example, like when we brought Jared Allen here, right? You bring in Jared Allen, you're like, okay, we're gonna give this guy all his money.
There was some history there.
Yes, there was. And so the coaches, they got the cell phone going to bed. It's it's on the nightstand, and they're thinking, oh my God, please don't ring, please don't ring. We just gave this guy a ton of money. If he gets in trouble again, he's suspended for a year, right? 2 years, whatever. So the Vikings have taken those chances in the past, And so when you look at Jared Allen and everything that he went through to get to where he is, and we saw him grow out of that and become a real professional, JJ he's always been that guy. So that's why at, what is he, 26 years old, 25? No, it's how old, JJ, 24?
I think he's 24.
Yeah, he's like 24. You go out on the street and give a 24-year-old $40, $50 million, what is it, guaranteed at least, right? I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I should, but whatever.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, 111 guaranteed million. What would they do? What would you do when you were 24 and someone gave you?
There'd be no shot you can count on me. No shot.
Back in 47, that would have been probably what, a couple 100,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, exactly.
But yeah, you would have gone. You would have gone nutty too.
You would have seen the DeSoto I would have bought.
I guarantee you, Jim Rich would have ended up on a police blotter somewhere in some town. This is pre-internet, right? But yeah, if someone gave you that kind of money.
Of course.
So I'm just saying.
I'll go there now. If you want to give me that money now, I'll be happy to go on the police blotter.
You've got plenty.
I can bail myself out. I can bail myself out. All right.
You've got plenty.
We digress. All right. Yes. Now, Jefferson can only do so much, as I said, as a wide receiver. Somebody has to get him the ball. That's Sam Darnold. And then more likely, J.J. McCarthy, the rookie quarterback the Vikings traded up for. He just went through his first minicamp, so he got a little taste of what it's going to be like. There's another OTAs this week. But what will this summer be like for him? How does he approach training camp? Does he go into this saying, I want to be the starter, I want to be the week one starter, or is he going to take a slower approach to this?
No, his approach should be, I got to get ready for game number one. That's the only way to approach it. When you're a backup quarterback, you've got to be ready for that, because you don't know when that time's going to be. So my point is, you kind of have to get ready. We as fans can sit back and say, all right, well, we'll let Darnold, and this is a big year for Darnold too.
Absolutely.
Right? Darnold's a high draft pick, and he's bounced around.
$10 million 1 year.
Right. So if Darnold wants to be considered a possible starter in the NFL from next year onward, he has to have a good year this year. So we have, Darnold had a really good spot in his career. We know he has height, weight, speed, and talent, because he wouldn't have been drafted where he was if he didn't. So on the hoof, you're like, okay, this guy looks great. But something's obviously been amiss over the last couple of years, or else he wouldn't have bounced around. So what is that? Can he overcome that? For JJ, just get ready. And the other interesting part, I think, for McCarthy too, is the next, after this next couple practices, it's going to be kind of his first real time off, so to speak. It's been a long year. I mean, for these rookies, you go through your last season in college, you go to the bowl game, then you go to the postseason all-star games, then you go to the combine, then you go to your individual workout, then you go to the draft, and then the day after you're drafted, that's when work starts, right? You get that book, you get the playbook, and you got to start work. It's a long 2 years for rookies, and so for McCarthy, everything I've heard, he's got the talent that you expect from a pick at the requisite pick at that time, and with that position, it's going to be the off the field things, character, what goes on between the ears, that's most important. And, judging from what we've seen from him, wouldn't surprise me if the kid gets thrown in week 3 or week 8. I don't think it's going to matter. This kid's just going to take the bull by the horns, so we'll see.
Do you think it would be earlier in the season, or do you think it'll be the Vikings?
Well,
in Kwesi's mind, or you're O'Connell, take out the fact that, we had to because Darnold fell apart.
Yeah.
What with these rookie quarterbacks, especially in the NFL, because if you have a bad 5 weeks, people consider you washed up.
Oh, yeah.
He's a bust.
Right. Well,
it's such a quick trigger on quarterbacks.
No question. If JJ would have been here last year, they would have. Obviously, but even with Cousins over the last couple of years, there have been times where the people wanted him out. Right. And so, I guess as a staff and an organization, you have to realize how much rope are we going to give. How much leeway are we going to give Darnold? You know what I mean? And unfortunately for the Vikings, you look at last year, what our nemesis were the turnovers. You talk about personnel all day long, but man, goodness, we couldn't stop turning the football over. So if Darnold comes out and starts throwing interceptions left and right, do we pull the trigger then? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's a conversation that has to be had, and I'm sure a lot of
because once you pull the trigger, you can't put Darnold back in there.
No, you can't put the genie back in the bottle, baby.
It's not like when they had Dobbs and all the guys and they rotated around and after we studied this on the off week, we're going to go back with this guy because we think he has the biggest chance to win.
Absolutely. Your expectations
there's
are
one
completely
shot
different.
in the chamber. There's one bullet in this gun that O'Connell has, and once he pulls it, it's over then for Darnold.
And for Darnold,
McCarthy's the guy.
And for Darnold, that's life in the NFL. Unless you just inked a nice 5-year deal where you're safe for the next 2 or 3 years, you're game to game no matter what. There are a lot of quarterbacks in this league that are very good that are still game to game based on their performance. That's just the business, right? That's how it is. But they're going to have some idea of what they're going to, what they can tolerate or what they expect out of Darnold. And I think the other part of that is also JJ's development. And if he's developing well, they might feel more. I'm sorry, McCarthy is developing well. They may feel more comfortable throwing him in there a little bit earlier. But then again, no matter how good a guy looks in practice, you have no idea. You have no idea what this guy's going to do until you put him out there after the national anthem and he runs out there to full, the whole thing. You just don't know. He may look great in practice, but that's why those guys get paid all that money, because they're the ones making that decision.
All right.
Right?
All right. Perhaps the biggest offseason acquisition. This could be the X factor for the whole season in my mind. No matter which quarterback is starting, Darnold or McCarthy, it's Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
The Vikings have not been able to run the ball since Dalvin Cook. Can Jones give this offense what it needs?
I think so. The Vikings have been, if you look at our offense in the areas where we are, deficient, short yardage running game over 2 years now has been deficient. It has not been where it needs to be.
We had to go to quarterback.
Right. And I'm not picking on him. This is. I believe Coach O'Connell would tell you that. Coach Phillips would tell you that. All those guys would say, how different would the Cincinnati game have turned out had they been able to get a 3rd and 1, and you wouldn't have the situation where the quarterback tries to sneak it again. The whole thing is just the deep red zone running game and short yardage has been an issue for this offense for the last 2 seasons. Now, Jones, I would hope, could rectify a lot of that, because I think that is what he does very well. You don't see him getting – you see him just always getting positive yardage, 2, 3, 4 yards. He's very good at that. He's very good at jump cuts and has great vision. He has really, really good vision, and he's able to find a way to get that yard or two that you need. So, in my opinion, the biggest impact he can make is to make us one of the better 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 teams in the league as the running back. If he does that, then yes, he has made that impact. The question is going to be how much is our running game going to change schematically to accommodate what what Jones does well. He's a good cutback runner, long zones, riding the wave. He can get outside, good out of the backfield. He's an adequate pass protector. It's not one of the things that he does best. So third downs, is he going to be on? Are we going to have a different third down back? I don't think so. But that's an area where you got to keep an eye on him. But he's a very versatile weapon, and our running backs have not really been involved in our passing game. Well, which is something that you saw with the Rams when Coach O'Connell was there. You're like, the running backs were a big, the running backs in the Super Bowl caught a couple big plays, right? The running backs out of the backfield, getting a linebacker in space was a big thing. So he may bring that aspect to it as well. So my list of priorities is I hope he fixes our short yardage running game in the short yardage red zone. Is that more important in your mind than saying just you hand it off on first down and you pick up 4 yards? Instead of before, how many times did you see the Vikings hand the ball off and, like you said, negative yards? And then you're sitting at 2nd and 12, and then the whole series of downs is a mess. Yeah, and that's part of being an efficient running back, so to speak. And so if you can when you do hand the ball off, get positive yardage. I think we saw that with Chandler toward the end of the season, when he started gaining some steam, and that's again going back with this team, and man, we had some explosive runs. Right? I mean, we were able to score and put points on the board handing the ball off, and that causes a problem with the defense. A lot of times defense is like, you get 2-3 yards of run, we'll live with that. We're worried about JJ, right? You want to hand the ball off, go ahead and do that. Where if Jones, he was fortunate when he was in Green Bay because he never saw an 8-man box. Because Aaron Rodgers would tear you apart throwing the football if you put 8 guys in the box. So he's kind of come from that background. So if we are a passing team, you're more likely to see nickel. You're more likely to see, less likely to see an 8-man box, or so it. Hopefully he'll bring that to the table and just make this running game a little bit more efficient, especially in those key areas. All right, straight ahead here, the offense appears to be in good hands. I think we have cleared that up. But what about the defense? No more Danielle Hunter. Do the Vikings have enough to replace the Pro Bowler? We'll step into that mess in a moment. And the Twins